Hi guys, doing welcome to 11 Precalculus. Today we're going to solve by completing a square. First thing we're going to do is actually prove the quadratic formula. So we're going to prove the quadratic formula. So a lot of people know the quadratic formula, but they don't know where it comes from. Okay, so it actually came from this: ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Okay, and for us to prove the quadratic formula, we gotta complete the square. And like I mentioned, a lot of people know the quadratic formula, but they don't know where it comes from. It actually it came from this. So we're gonna do that. I know a lot of you are gonna think, what is going on? And I know this is kind of like level 10, and then we'll do something easier, right? Usually you want to start with level 1, right? And then go to level 10, but this is kind of like, why do we start level 10? Because I want people to understand how to prove the quadratic formula by completing a square. When you could prove the quadratic formula by completing a square, you can complete any square with no problem, any problem, okay? That makes any sense. You can complete square with no problem, any problem. I hope that makes sense. All right. So what do I gotta do? How do I start with completing the square? So I want to get x by itself, right? So I move to c. So c is the constant, right? Which is just a number. So now what? I want x squared by itself. So in order for x squared by itself, I gotta factor out a. So this would be b over a x. How do I know that? Well, when you multiply, this is really when you factor out a, you're multiplying things. So when you multiply things, you gotta divide by whatever you multiply. So if you multiply times a times x squared, or a times b over a times x, you're gonna get the original equation. Now to complete the square, I gotta take half of b. So b over a times half of it will get you, square will get you c. And c is always going to be positive. It doesn't matter if b is positive or negative because you're squaring it. So now let's do that. Now we get plus, it's always positive, b over a times 1 over 2 square. So if I do it on one side, I gotta balance it. I gotta do it on the other side. So b over a times 1 over 2 square. Right? I added this, I have to add it here also. But problem is, I didn't really just add this. I added this times a. So a lot of common mistake that students make, they forget what they multiply with. This can't multiply by a, so we gotta multiply this by a. Okay? So now we just simplify, erase this. You have x squared plus b over a x plus, I'm going to show the work here, b squared over 2a squared, right? B over 2a squared, right? So now if I what do you call this? If I want to simplify this, this is really just what? B squared over 4a squared, okay? Right, so now what? I gotta do it on the other side. I gotta do the same thing. So this is b. So I added b squared over 4a squared. Right, but be careful, times a. So times a, as you can see, times a right there. Right, now this is a perfect square. So this is a. Just take half of b, keep the symbol, whatever the symbol is, plus b over a times 1/2. Okay, but 1/2. But I can rewrite this as what? B over 2a, and then that's square. And you notice if you factor this, it's going to be here. This is a perfect square. That's when you try to complete the squares, you want to have a perfect square. So that's what I did. Okay, so now I got to simplify. So you notice I'm just going to do some work here. Negative c plus b squared over 4a. And I'm just gonna do it. Yes, sure. Why not? A I can rewrite it again. Why am I doing that? You can certainly do what I'm doing. Now I gotta combine like terms. You have 4ac plus b squared all over 4a. Then you have, I can switch them. I have b squared minus 4ac all over 4a. So you notice I didn't really do anything here, right? And to save some space, I'm gonna cut some work here, and then hopefully this makes sense. Try it out. This is how to go from here to here, okay? So if you don't, just go back to the video. So I'm gonna erase this, I'm gonna erase that, I'm gonna erase this, I'm gonna write this, because I didn't really change this left side. I'm just cutting some steps all over 4a. Okay, now I wanna divide by a, okay, because I wanna solve for x. So x plus b over 2a squared, you get b squared minus 4ac all over 4a squared. Okay, now I'm taking the square root of both sides. And I'm going to show work here. But like I mentioned, I'm going to have to cut step because we're running on board. So x plus b over a is equal to plus or minus. I can separate this. This is b squared minus 4ac. Separate them. 4a squared. See, I can apply this idea because as long as I know that square root of a square root of b is equal to square root of a square root of b, as long as a and b is positive. Keep in mind this will work only if a and b is positive, all right? A lot of people apply this trick, but they don't realize that it has to be the case. It has to be both positive. So let's assume this is both positive. We can apply that, right? So I'm gonna erase that. So being able to apply that, this is really x plus b over 2a is equal to plus or minus b squared minus 4ac square root all over 2a. Okay, this is now 2a. So just to cut some step, I gotta erase this part now. So I gotta go to here. Instead of this, I'm gonna have it's what? I'm gonna have, oh, nope, that's not it. Okay, let me just rewrite that. B squared minus 4ac all over 4a squared. To cut step, we're gonna erase this part right here. Okay? I'm gonna erase this part. So this is just now this plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, now I wanna, as you notice, I wanna solve for x, that's the key. X is equal to negative b over 2a plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And that's it. And you can combine this now. You can combine this now. You have x equal to negative b plus or minus, because they have the same LCD, b squared 4ac all over 2a. There you go. That's the quadratic formula right there. So try this out. Make sure you understand it really well. Pause the video, go back and understand it. How to prove it. So go back to here and then go back, and you know the quadratic formula is this one. Go back and then try it yourself. And if you can do this, believe me, you can complete any square with no problem, any problem. Okay, so pause the video, try this out. I like this one. It's probably one of my favorite things to do. All right, so now we're going back to like level 1, maybe level 2. I don't know what you want to call it. So it should be easy if you know how to do this. All right, so I'll let you guys try it out. So ax squared plus ax plus 13 is equal to 0. So try it out. Oh, not plus, sorry. That doesn't matter. But that was supposed to be b if you want to think about it. Okay. So So what do? X squared minus 8x, what did I do? I subtract the constant, which is 13 in this case. Then what? I complete the square. I take half of b, right? So b over 2, and you square it to get c. So this is always positive. So you have negative 8 over 2, and you square it. And then you get what? Negative 13 plus negative 8 over 2 square. So I added here, I gotta do it on the other side as well. So let's simplify this. This is x squared minus 8x plus negative 4. Negative 8 over 2 is negative 4. When you square, you get 16. So here you have to do the same thing too. You have to add 16. So now this is a perfect square, and you can even factor this as x minus 4, x minus 4. Right? But why would you do that? It's not necessarily. So knowing that this is just taking x, keeping the symbol, whatever that is, half of that is what? 4. So this is 4, and then you square it. Okay, so the idea of this is basically from here, if I have room, this one right here, I basically, or this one, not that one, avoiding that one. Okay, this is really that form, x squared minus bx plus negative b over 2 squared. Okay, and to get to here, I gotta think about this as x squared minus bx plus c. Right? So keep in mind, I did mention negative b over 2 squared is the same thing as c as well. So, and also b over 2 squared is equal to c. So we have that formula now. Okay, so that's a b, by the way, if you can tell. Okay, so that's b, that's supposed to be an x. So now, this is a perfect square. I just take x minus whatever it is, it's negative, so it's b over 2, and then you square it, right? That's the formula. So now, let's do it here. So what is this? This is 3, right? Don't mind the scratch right here. This is just, that's not part of the equation, but it's just to get the idea, how did I do this? Taking square root of both sides, I get x minus 4 plus or minus root 3. And then what do? You add 4. You get 4 plus or minus root 3. That's it. Okay. Alright. Kind of gave you a hint what b was. I could have made that, I guess. B, but just going in order. So b, now try it. So in this case, it's not negative, it's positive. So see if you can try it. It's very similar. Pause the video, try it out. Okay. So what do? You subtract the constant, 8x plus 13. Subtract the constant, I didn't do nothing. So what? X squared plus 8x plus 8 over 2 squared. So you notice here, it's pretty much the same thing. But what do you notice? It's what? It's positive, so this has to be positive, right? Now we want to go back, we want to go to here, so this is going to be x squared plus 8x plus 16. This is going to be negative 13 plus 16. So now it's in this one, but since it's positive, it just is going to be positive. So applying this idea, you just take half of 8 in the symbol, so x plus 4 square, and this is 3. Right? So this has to be positive. Now what? Taking square root of both sides, you get x plus 4 equals to plus or minus root 3. Okay, Now what? Subtracting the negative, the 4, you have negative 4 plus or minus root 3. It's very similar to A. You notice instead of positive 4, it's negative 4. It's the same steps. I made it very similar so you can see the idea if you didn't get it the first time. So it's pretty much the same idea. So now I'm going to erase this. Hopefully this makes sense. Okay, let's do it. Okay, so C. 2x squared minus 5x plus 2. Okay. So what's the first step? I subtract the constant. Always feel free to try it out first if you can do it. What's the first step? Pause the video if you want to. Negative 2, right? So what did I do? I factor out a. In this case, a is 2. So 2x squared minus 5 over 2x. Right? Plus whatever. Right? We don't know, so we're just going to say plus something, right? So let's just leave this like that for now. So negative 2. So how do I complete the square? I just take half of this. Half of this, right? Oh, I can do it on the next line. It's up to you. I'm going to do it here to save space. I'm going to take half of b plus 5 over 2 negative, doesn't matter, times 1/2, and then you square it. That's c right there. So in order for me to do that, I got to do it on the other side. So negative 2 plus negative 5 over 2 times 1/2 squared. So be careful, I just didn't add this, I added this times what? 2, so 2. Okay, so now this is going to be 2x squared minus 5 over 2x plus, this is going to be negative 5 over 4. When you square that, you get 25 over 16. So here, same thing, 25 over 16, right? Now, we can simplify, so 2x minus, this is now x minus half of this, which is 4 squared. And you want to simplify this, you get negative 2 plus 2, 25 over 8. So I want to simplify this, and you could write every step if you want. I just keep writing everything again. Okay. So this is going to be negative 16 plus 25 over 8. And when you add this, this is going to be 9 over 8. So as you notice, I didn't do anything here, so I'm just going to cut this step right here. So instead of this, I'm going to have this 9 over 8. Okay, so I have 9 over 8. So what do you do after that? You divide by 2, so you get x minus 5 over 4. You square it, you get 9 over 16. Then take the square root of both sides, you get x minus 5 over 4 equals plus or minus 3 over 4. And I can add 5 over 4 to both sides, so you get plus or minus 3 over 4. And I can make this, separate this. This is 5 over 4 plus 3 over 4. And the minus is x equals 5 over 4 minus 3 over 4. This is 8 over 4, which is 2. 2 over 4, which is 1/2. Okay, that's it. Okay. All right, now try D. It's very similar, right? Just see if you can get the idea. So plus. Pause the video if you didn't quite get this. Now you try D using the same idea pretty much. Oh, dude, did I write it correctly? I think it's correct. Oh no, did I not? Oh yeah, okay, this is D. Like, looking at the answer, why Why do I get a diff? I shouldn't get that answer. Okay, yes you should. Alright, that's good. So I had positive answers and I'm looking at this. Whoa, that's negative. I didn't gonna get negative answers. But I changed the question. Okay. So, alright, so what I do, subtract the constant, right? Negative 2, factor out of 2, you get x squared plus 5 over 2x. Then what? Plus 25 over 4, I skipped that step, 25 over 16, right? Now, I gotta do it on the other side. This is 2 plus 25 over 16, but be careful, I gotta multiply that by whatever I multiply, so times 2. So 2, taking half of this is x plus 5 over 4, and I squared. Here, I just simplify 2 plus 25 over 8, right? Is that correct? Oh yeah, this is negative 2. This is negative 2. All right? Now what? Everything is good so far? Now what? I'm going to combine like terms. Like you could write it if you like. You don't have to. 2x plus 5 over 4 squared. Boom, boom. So this is negative 16 plus 25 over 8. This is 9 over 8. So I'm going to actually cut this step. So this, I'm going to rewrite this. It's 9 over 8. So erase all this. Okay. Now, you can write those things. I just skipped a couple of steps to get from here to here. And I showed the work. If you how I did that. Divide by 2. You want to solve for x. 9 over 16. So then taking the square root, I get plus or minus 3 over 4. And subtract negative 5 over 4. Plus or minus 3 over 4. Then you get what? I can separate these. This is x equals negative 5 over 4 plus 3 over 4. X is equal to negative 5 over 4 minus 3 over 4, which is negative 2 over 4, which is negative 1/2. This is negative 8 over 4, which is negative 2. All right, that's it. Okay. So this is a 4. I know it doesn't look like it, huh? It's a 4. That's a 4. They're all 4s. Okay. Now, hopefully that makes sense. So let's do. So do some practice problems. Practice problems. Okay. So let's do some practice problems. 1. So when it comes to practice problems, I want students to try it out for themselves, and hopefully it makes sense. If you don't know how to do it, go back to the video. Okay, this is kind of like a pre-test, see what you know. So try it out. So what do? Pause the video if you haven't tried it. Same thing we've been doing the whole time. Subtract the constant, complete the square, right? Take half of this and you square it, you get 4. Right? This is now a perfect square. Right? Then you get 2. Taking the square root of both sides, you get plus or minus square root of 2. Adding 2 to both sides, you get 2 plus or minus square root of 2. Right? Okay. Next problem. Okay. 2. X squared minus 4x plus 6. So pause the video if you haven't tried it out. Okay, so what do? You subtract the constant, get negative 6, and you complete the square, you should get positive 4 here. This would be negative 6 plus 4. You add 4 here, you gotta do it on the other side. This is a perfect square now. Get negative 2, square root of both sides. Oh, what's this? Square root of this. What is the square root of that? Right? You guys know this is square root of 2i. This is a quick review. Square root of negative 1 is equal to I. So when I have square root of negative 2 is equal to square root of negative 1 times square root of 2. So this is really the same thing as I times root 2, or you could say root 2 times I, whatever you prefer. So square root of this is pretty much the work to get there. Right, square root of negative 1 is I. Okay, so hopefully that's a review from algebra. So now what do? You just add 2 to both sides, you get this. That's it. Okay, now 3. Three may be a little bit of a challenge, but try to get the idea how to do it, and you can do it. You'll be able to do it. So how do you do this? Pause the video if you haven't tried it. The goal is to get x by itself, so we want to combine the x terms. Right? Now I get constant on one side by itself. Now what? Factor out the x? No, you don't want to do that. We want to complete the square. So just think about it. Just taking half of this. So what is half of that? When you square it, you should get what? It's always positive. That's 3 over 8. When you square that, that's 9 over 64. So if you do that, you have to do it on the other side too. Right? So this is now perfect square. This is x minus 3 over 8 square. Then you combine like terms and do the same thing I've been doing. Combine like terms. You get negative 8 plus 9 over 64. Right? But what is this? This is really the same thing as 1 over 64. Okay, so now taking square root of both sides, you get plus or minus 1 over 8, adding 3/8 to both sides. Right, so this is really the same thing as 3 over 8 plus 1 over 8, 3 over 8 minus 1 over 8, which is equal to 4 over 8, which is 1/2. This is 2 over 8, which is 1/4, right? That's an 8. That's it. So 1/2 and 1/4 should be your answer. All right. Feel like moving too fast? Always pause the video if you need to. Okay. 4. 3x squared minus 6x minus 1. So try it out. Okay, what do? You move the negative 1 to the other side, so it becomes positive 1. Factor out of 3. 3x squared minus 2x. Then you complete the square, you should get 1. And here, I have added 1, I gotta do it on the other side, right? 1. Be careful, not 1. 3 times 1, right? So really it's just 3. So this is 3x minus 1 squared is equal to 4. Dividing by 3, I get this, 4 over 3. This, taking the square root, I got x equals 1 equals square root of 4 over 3, right? So I can simplify that. That's really 2 over root 3. Plus or minus x is equal to 1 plus or minus 2 root 3. You can, this is fine, but you can rationalize it as well. 2 root 3 over 3. That's it. Okay, now let's do the last one. Okay, the last one. 5. negative 2x squared plus 6x plus 3. Okay, so try it out. So what can you do? I can certainly multiply everything by a negative to get rid of it, but let's try it with a negative. We haven't done one with a negative. So let's do that. But first, in order for us to solve it, we gotta get x unknown. So we have to subtract 3, and we factor out negative 2, right? You have x squared. So this becomes negative now, 3x equals negative 3. So I gotta complete the square. Half of 3 over 2, and I square it, you should get 9 over 4, right? 3 over negative 3 over 2 squared is 9 over 4. So I gotta do it on the other side, 9 over 4. But be careful, 9 over 4 times negative 2, right? So negative 2, this is just half of that. It's 3 over 2 squared, negative 3, this will become negative 9 over 2, right? Now, negative 2x minus 3 over 2 squared. This is going to be negative 6 over 9 over 2, which is equal to what? Negative 15 over 2. Right, now we're going to divide by negative 2 to both sides. I get 15 over 4. Right, negative and negative becomes positive. Negative divided by negative becomes positive. Taking the square root of both sides, you get square root of 15 over plus or minus 2. Combining like terms, you get 3 over 2 plus or minus root 15 over 2. And you can rewrite this as x is equal to, I'll just write it here. This is equal to, x is equal to, I don't need to write x, but if you want to, sure. 3 over 2 plus or minus, 3 plus root 15 over 2. That's it. So this is x equals if you want. But it's the same idea. So I have more practice problems. I have page 55, 45 to 51. As you notice, there's only what, 4 questions. Odd means 45, 47, 49, 51. That's what, just odd. And you really go back to completing a square, proving the quadratic formula. If you could do that, you shouldn't have a problem. I know there's not a lot of problems, but like I mentioned, keep going back to quadratic formula, see if you can understand it, how to prove it, and it would have no problem doing these. If you want extra problems, I gave 4 extra problems, 45 to 51 odd, page 55. And what book am I using? Good question. I'm using this book, Precalculus 5th edition, Stewart. I got this at Amazon for like $20. So if you want more practice, there you go.